it's important that we acknowledge something. 2 years ago, in 2019, with the inaugural class of the Dayton Christian Athletics Hall of Fame, the MC was Ken Moyer. And many of you know Ken Moyer. He's a very imposing figure. There's a lot of star power there. Ken played football at the University of Toledo. He was a two-time All-Conference. He was a second-team All-American. If you go on the Toledo website, it literally says he was probably the best offensive player to ever play at Toledo. He was a member of the University of Toledo Hall of Fame. He was drafted by the Bengals in 1988 and spent 7 years in the NFL. And you guys get me. I spent a year on JV cross country in 1988. That's it. So, not a very imposing figure here, not a whole lot of sports acumen. If I were you, I wouldn't take it that the Hall of Fame committee doesn't like you, but clearly they took it way more seriously 2 years ago. But I did want to acknowledge that. I was honored to be asked to do this, and I think we're going to have a good time tonight. So, thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me. A quick word about the Hall of Fame selection process, in case you're wondering. Nominations for the Hall of Fame were solicited from the general public between August and October for the past 2 years. Athlete candidates had to be 10 years removed from high school graduation, and coaches needed to be away from DC for 5 years. The 8-member Hall of Fame selection committee that we recognized earlier then evaluated the candidate pool. They then selected these two classes who have all attested to living a life consistent with the biblical principles and values taught at Dayton Christian. And so now, here's your 2020 and 2021 Dayton Christian Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. Just so you're aware, our program tonight's going to be split into two. We're going to do the 2020 induction class, and then we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll do the 2021 class. So now for the induction of the 2020 class of the Dayton Christian Athletic Hall of Fame. The first to be inducted are the 1978 and 1979 girls state volleyball teams. The 1978 and 79 volleyball teams earned the distinction of winning Dayton Christian's first ever regional team championships and state Final Four berths in 1978 and 79. In 1978, the team defeated Sidney Fairlawn for the regional title and went on to the state semifinals at Otterbein College, where they lost to undefeated Milford Center Fairbanks. They finished with an 18-5 season record. In 1979, the team repeated as regional champions, defeating Fenwick, and returned to the state semifinals, dropping a 3-set contest to Archbold. They finished the season with an outstanding 24-2 record. Both of these teams were led by head coach Cheryl Cressman and all district players Carol Lee Helm at Orne and Linda Lane Chadwick. The 1978 and 1979 girls volleyball teams will be introduced by current DC volleyball coach, Ms. Angie Damelt.
All right. Thank you very much. I am honored to be here tonight among this incredible group of Hall of Fame inductees. Congratulations to each one of you. As the current varsity volleyball coach, tonight I have the great honor of introducing the 1978 and 1979 state volleyball team. As I was reflecting on how to introduce this group, I decided to reach out to our volleyball historian, statistician, and media guy, Jeff Thompson, for some advice. He put it into words so eloquently, I'm going to read it to you tonight. There was much that was said and written about the recent success of DC volleyball over this past year. But as we've reflected upon the present, we've rightly been compelled to look back to those who laid the foundation and passed along the tradition of excellence that we carry with us today. In 1978, Dayton Christian School was only 15 years old, and up until that time, none of its athletic teams had ever advanced to the state tournament level. All of that changed when head coach Cheryl Cressman's 18-5 squad advanced to the 1978 Class A Final Four before falling to Milford Center Fairbanks in the semifinals. Not to be outdone, Cressman's 1979 Crusader team would return to the state semis and finish with a 24-2 record, logging the most victories of any Dayton Christian team in school history. It's a record that still stands to this day, and one that we're reminded of as this year's team passed the 20-win mark for the first time since this legendary group did it 42 years ago. Though these accomplishments are remarkable and absolutely worthy of recognition, the mission to play and live all for the glory of God is the deepest tradition. This links the present with the past, no matter how the game or the roster changes from season to season. Whether it's 1978 or 2021, Dayton Christian Volleyball has remained committed to winning for him. So tonight, we celebrate the legacy of the 1978 and 1979 teams and thank them for showing us all how this is done. So, those of you who still have a dream, trust me, it can still come true after 42 years. It really can. Some of the things that we'd like to share tonight, I'm so glad that you had Cheryl Cressman up there because honestly, if you think about our accomplishment, and we've thought about that, I think a lot since this induction is we were only a team for 4 years. And in that 4th year, she coached us well enough to go to a state tournament. That's huge, if you think about that. And I know that it was back in the day and all of that, but
when you talk about, Steve, when you talk about hard work and commitment, I mean, that woman would stand on the ladder, remember that? And by the net, and she would just throw balls at us as hard as she could. And I think she even got some of the guys to do it so that we learned the skills. But more importantly than that, and we wish so badly she could be here tonight, because truly, her legacy was about teaching us about Jesus. It really, truly was. Secondary to that was to be a good athlete and to exhibit all of those qualities that Steve talked about. And, you know, Carol and I have had the privilege of staying in touch and being, you know, at least staying being friends. And now I get to see my other friend from years and years ago, and that's a blessing. And Cheryl brought all of that together. She really did. There was a verse that we always quoted, and we would always say it together, and it was from Isaiah 50, verse 7, and it said, "Because the sovereign Lord helps me, I will not be disgraced. Therefore I have set my face like a flint, and I know I will not be put to shame." And that was our verse. We had set our face like a flint the entire season. And so we just want to recognize not only our team, who were our friends, and one of our teammates has passed on, Carol's sister, Jeannie Helm, who was a huge part of both of those teams. And we know she's kind of looking down on us tonight and loving this event because she would have been here. But I really wanted to get Cheryl's comments, so I did email her and I said, hey, can you just share something? So I would at least like to read what she wrote about the team. She said, when I think of that volleyball team from Dayton Christian who went to the state tournament in Columbus 2 years in a row, I have a grateful spot in my heart for the wonderful, talented girls I was privileged to coach. I felt like the girls put God first in our games, and that is why we were so successful. We had a secret cheer that we would say after timeouts, and it was ISA 507. And that was our verse from Isaiah, which meant to us that we would set our face like a flint and look to him for help, and we would triumph. These girls were hard workers and put so much effort in every practicing game. No other team of girls have blessed me so much, and I am grateful. And so I just asked for a few memories from some of their friends, but is Mr. Schindler here tonight? No? Good. Because we're going to tell a few. Because we have to tell the funny stuff, right? I mean, Steve did, but one of the things that would happen with Cheryl was we always were in this white van, terribly dangerous, and it was snowing one night, and we convinced her to get into this big, huge parking lot and do donuts in this big white van. It was hilarious, and of course she sworn us to secrecy that we could never tell anybody. But since Mr. Schindler, because back in the day he was her boss. So anyway, the other thing is when we went to the state tournament, we did spend the night, and Steve, I think you're right. I think maybe that was our nemesis and why we never could win. But we would bring firecrackers. We had a friend who would bring firecrackers, and we would spend a lot of time having a lot of fun. But we have great memories, and Carol shared a memory. And Carol said she didn't feel like she was very good. You're honest, almost a state champion in volleyball. So you were excellent. But she said, you know, one time a setter actually set the ball to her, and she was a little shocked, like, what do I do? But she jumped up there, she spiked that ball, and it landed like inbounds, and it was a point. And you know, she looked over at Coach, and Coach, of course, was smiling and almost as shocked. She says shocked, but you know, just very, very fond memories with that accomplishment. But it does really go back. And I think from what we remember, and it has been a very long time, but it brings back all of those wonderful memories of friendship, of character, of her and the Lord's influence on our life. And you're right, you know, it's an amazing thing when you have an amazing mentor at such a young, impressionable age, that we can stand up here tonight and say, I think we're all three pretty good Christian women, because of some really great influences that we had. And so thank you to the Hall of Fame, but thank you to Dayton Christian and Dayton Christian Schools for having a vision to try to help us along. And when you get older, for some of you that are older, you know how important that is. But I do want to thank everyone for being here tonight and listening to us and appreciating us, because it does mean it. It just means a lot, and it means the world to us. So thank you. see boys, ever. You do.
So face for the radio. Thank you very much. Congratulations to the 1978-1979 Girls State Volleyball team on their induction into the 2020 class of the DC Athletics Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is Jessica Burkhard Orne, longtime girls soccer coach and 1988 DC alumnus. Coach Orne holds the distinction of being the winningest girls soccer coach in Dayton Christian history, collecting 267 wins during her 30-year coaching career. Coach Orne has led Dayton Christian to 9 conference titles and 3 district finals. Over her long tenure, Orne has received 4 All-Conference, 6 All-District, and 12 All-Area Coach of the Year honors. As a player on DC's first ever girls soccer team in 1987, she set and still holds the school record for goals in a season with 39. During high school, she earned 4 varsity letters for track, soccer, and basketball, and after graduating from Dayton Christian, Orne ran track and field at Taylor University and was also a member of their equestrian squad. Jessica will be introduced by her husband, who's also a DC grad, and her longtime assistant coach, Mr. Paul Orne.
Thanks, Jonathan. And by the way, we were both class of 1990. Can you believe that? Woo! It's Chad down here. So, you know, what to say? 30 years is a long time, isn't it? But let me start with the first part. So she started in 1985 at DC as a freshman, right? Wanted to play soccer. Didn't get the chance to play soccer until 1988, her senior year. And she made all she could of it. And that whole team really did. I know there's some other family members here that had members on that team, and they did a terrific job, just competing, loving the game. And then she did set that goal, or that record for 39 goals in one season. But coaching played a lot bigger role, a lot more time than that. So Jessica went to college, and then she came back and had the opportunity to teach and coach the Lady Crusaders at the time. And you already mentioned the records, but if you look at the wins and the ties, if you add those together, then she would win or tie roughly 70% of the time. That's pretty good odds. So she's done a terrific job there. But let's talk a little bit about my observations over those 30 years. One is the records aren't a big deal. What is a big deal is it's all about the girls. I don't know how many times you said that, but a lot, right? And she really cared about helping young ladies grow closer to Christ and to improve their soccer skill set along the way, definitely. But she taught life lessons. I mean, same thing. Everybody's saying the same thing because the pillars and the foundations are really the same. But she taught life lessons through sports, through soccer, through basketball. Only God's going to know the impact of what happened there, which is terrific. 30 years, I still can't believe that. Crazy. But she was also loved by her peers, players, trainers, refs. We had one ref in particular that actually brought banana bread every time that he refed, for us. I was like, Jessica, you gotta have this bread, But it just speaks to the testimony, over the years and getting to know really all those pieces and parts of the program. But it's been a labor of love. Ben, bless his heart too, the end of year parties, most people have them in the fall. Jessica's in the spring because she has to go find a gift for each player that either says something about their character, something about, there are some really funny ones too. Maybe she'll speak to that, but there's some really funny ones. But, he does that, to take all that time to do that. And really what that says about her is that she really makes it personal. And I think that's where the impact is. She also, I have one sample here. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but she is an artist. I could never do this, right? But she draws a picture of the team, and they love trying to see which ones, is that me? Is that me? So just, again, speaking to the personalization of it. But, girls from 20 years ago, sometimes too, would come up and say, I still remember you got me this orb. These are gifts that are way off the wall, right? So you got me this, whatever it is. And just the impact and the meaning of that, people carry that. So, very cool. And for 30 years, so every year, right, she molded a new family of girls. And I call it a family because that's really what it was. But I'm going to leave you with her favorite verse, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So, Jess, what a race you've run with coaching for the kingdom. It's been a blast for us, certainly, but so excited to see what's next. I would call you a Hall of Fame wife, mom, friend, and coach. And it's an honor to induct you tonight. So come on up.
Better suited to a role at halftime than it is up here on stage in front of other people. But I will do my best. And if I told the stories from 30 years of soccer, we would be here for probably about a week. And so my speech is going to be a little bit more suited to thanking so many people because we always talk about how it takes a village. But first of all, my first thanks is going to go to Paul because I appreciate the recognition, I appreciate all the love and everything of the Hall of Fame committee. It's such an honor. But Paul's been there with me almost the entire time, 95% of it, I guess. And 30 years would have been more like 3 had he not come alongside, just encouraging, supporting, motivating, training our keepers, instituting all the fun runs. Those of you that are sitting here know about fun runs, that's Paul. And he's just been a tremendous coach, and completing this adventure together has been a blessing for me and for DC. So if we could give Paul a round of applause, I really appreciate it. There are so many things to be thankful for, but above all, I'm very thankful to God. I'm thankful to God for allowing me a chance to play soccer at DC before I graduated. My dad put the pressure on the school to have a girls' soccer team, and that experience gave me a passion to want to coach. I'm thankful that God opened a door at DC to coach girls soccer for about 30 years ago. I'm thankful to God for our soccer families. We have been taken care of for 30 years. We've been blessed by soccer parents that literally wrap us in hugs and prayer. Parents that brought us food at games, hot chocolate on the sidelines during frigid games, parents that opened up their homes for team dinners and initiations, which would be the majority of my stories. I know some of those parents ended up with whipped cream on their ceilings or chicken feathers clogging up their bathtubs. And those same parents encouraged us with notes and conversations that always seemed to come at the time we needed it the most. I'm so very thankful to God for these girls. There are so many stories and great memories. I'm so thankful for the willingness and openness to share pain and personal needs in prayer and the desire to build one another up. I'm thankful for the opportunities we got to share Christ with our opponents. I'm also thankful for the shenanigans. Girls crawling through our kitchen window, baking food and hiding in our house, sticky notes all over my car in my house, girls babysitting my kids and entertaining them on the sidelines, crazy dress days, and the insane car rides. I'm also thankful for the heart, sacrifice, and effort of these ladies. The blood, sweat, and tears is no joke. These girls play their hearts out. I've always been so proud of these teams because they never let up. There's not enough time to convey what these girls have meant to me. I've loved watching 30 years worth of girls grow into godly women, raising families, and finding their passion in life. I have even been blessed with the chance to coach the daughters of some of my former players. I am so thankful for my co-coaches. God has given me fantastic help. I have been blessed with coaches who love the girls, are dedicated to their growth, and who also love God. What a great support system it has been. 7 of my co-coaches are actually former players. I consider these coaches to be great friends. They will never quite know how much they impacted me and encouraged me on a daily basis. I'm thankful to God for my great family. My family and Paul's have been so supportive and encouraging. They have prayed for us, listened when we needed to talk, they've watched our kids, they've come to our games, and have just always been available to help at a moment's notice. Our kids, Mike and Morgan, have put up with the crazy schedule their entire lives, spent countless hours on the field, having 20 plus girls appear in their home at any given time, basically grew up watching soccer and eating concession stand food for dinner. They ultimately became DC soccer alum as well. We've all done this journey together, and our families have been an invaluable support system. I'm thankful to God who not only opened this door for me, but he has guided me every day. There have been plenty of thrills, tears of pain, tears of happiness, lifelong relationships that I've been molded by and blessed by. No speech I could give could ever be able to convey what coaching at DC has meant to me, but I know the impact it has had on me, and I'll be forever grateful. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jessica Burkhard Orne, on your induction into the 2020 class of the DC Athletics Hall of Fame. Next up for induction is the 1982 boys track and field team, coached by 2019 Hall of Famer Steve Karner. The 1982 boys track and field team has the distinction of winning the first ever team state championship for Dayton Christian Schools. The Crusaders defeated runner-up Ghana Columbus Academy for the Class A state title. At the state meet, Dayton Christian had 2 individual state champions, Matt Thomas in the high jump, Ronnie Drummond in the 400-meter dash, and it also had 3 state placers, Ronnie Drummond, who placed 2nd in the 200-meter dash and 4th in the 100-meter high hurdles, Kirby Jackson, who placed 4th in the long jump, and the 4x100-meter relay team of Tom Curtin, Drexel Jackson, Kirby Jackson, and Mike Larson that placed 3rd. This team is credited with starting the long and storied tradition of running excellence at Dayton Christian. The 1982 boys track and field team will be introduced tonight by current Dayton Christian Athletic Director, Ben Schroyer.
Thank you. This is definitely an honor to be able to introduce this group. A little bit about myself. Pretty much a soccer player all my life up through high school, and then I was given the opportunity to run cross country my senior year because my physical education teacher continued to beg me to run track and cross country because, you know, if you do the mile run during PE class, who's at the front of the pack? And how it was me. So I ran cross country and track 1 year in high school, and then did attend college at Cedarville University and had the opportunity to walk onto the cross country team there under Alvin. And put in my time there, 4 years, kind of worked up the depth chart, never got any, didn't get 1 penny scholarship money, but again, like Steve said today, the relationships, the character, the memories, I'd go back and do it again as a walk-on, hands down. So this is an honor to be able to introduce this group, because I know from a runner's background what it takes, which every sport takes a lot to win a state championship. You know, it's got to come together on that day. You're going through multiple rounds. Whether it's a sectional game, a district game, a regional game. Obviously, on the track side, you're going through district, regional rounds. At regionals, you got prelims, you got finals. The same for the state meet. So I wasn't aware of what Steve mentioned tonight about the team being at state in 1981. I did a little background check earlier tonight, but yeah, they obviously only scored 4 points that year, but it definitely got them prepared for the following year to bring home the championship for Dayton Christian. So. Pretty incredible what this group accomplished. There were 6 individuals that placed that year at the state meet in 6 different events. So hats off to them, 2 state champions that year, and obviously they did start the tradition of running and track and field excellence at DC. I think if you go through our history, which I'm still building to this day and trying to create some archives in our department, but I think our track and field and cross country teams probably do have the most state titles and things like that in our history. So. Incredible what they were able to accomplish to start off the running program here at Dayton Christian. So Other than that, obviously the state meet for track is always the first weekend in June, so I'm sure these guys did not get the honor and the credit that they deserve because everybody graduated. It's June, their senior year, and everybody checks out. And you're moving on to the next step of life. So let's really congratulate these guys and give them the honor they were due as the first state champion. And congratulations. Come on up, fellas.
Thank you so much. What a privilege it is to stand up here with these guys. And we don't get to see each other very often, but it is a wonderful privilege. On behalf of the 1982 Track and Field State Championship team, I want to thank Dayton Christian Schools for their recognition of our historic season. We were young men, 15 to 18 years of age, and we shared this great camaraderie together. What a fantastic 2 years really that was for us, but 4 years of running under coach, and I could only handle 1 year of cross country, and then I bailed after that. And I think it was okay with me not running anymore, but I enjoyed, we loved just competing together. You know, we're just teenagers enjoying life, having fun together. Coach Karner, he took this group, he molded us, he believed in us. I think even when, you know, these guys had a lot of confidence, I'll be honest with you. I didn't have much confidence when I was in high school, but Coach really instilled within us, he encouraged us, he taught us to be encouragers. I think that's one of the biggest things I learned from Coach Karner was to be an encourager, to be a coach. Every year Coach would put together a packet, and believe it or not, I have one of those with me tonight. And my wife wishes I would throw stuff away, but and what was neat at the beginning of the season, this packet would have all kinds of scriptures in it. It would have quotes, it would have records and goals for the year, other information to motivate us, you know, to pursue greater heights and faster times. But at the beginning of one of this document that I had, there was a goals for track men, and here were the goals. Let me read them quickly. Number 1, to totally buy into our program and submit to all rules, goals. 2, to be conformed to the image of Christ. 3, give a total effort for our Lord in all practices and meets. 4, participate as if only Christ were watching. 5, present Jesus Christ to anyone whenever you have the opportunity. You notice the theme here. 6, have Jesus' character, qualities, dependability, humility, diligence, determination, confidence, boldness, meekness, joy, love, self-sacrifice, and loyalty. Number 7, team unity, love, and communication. 8, maximize your physical potential so you may do the very best you can. 9, have fun. And we did a lot of having fun. 10, learn God's word and learn to apply it. There's also a fun trivia section to this little booklet he would put together. For example, shortest time between lunch and a race, Ron Drummond, 10 minutes. Most shot puts thrown into a crowd, Tim Gladura, 1. I'm glad it was only 1, so. 3, most tape used in one season, Harold Clark, 1978. Most races in one meet, Ron Drummond. Ron was a workhorse. He had 9 races in one meet, and I think he had more than that in 82. Most times to throw up during a workout, Dan Greer, 4 times. 7, best excuses for missed practices. This was by Don Holbrook, 1977. Anybody remember him? And his excuse was, my dog had the flu. So we had a lot of fun running track. Coach made it fun. But I know the lives, our lives, the lives of those young men that were there, were impacted to serve God. My life was impacted to serve God. In fact, you know, I had a goal to be an Olympic decathlete. And I won't tell you who my favorite athlete was back in the day. You can figure that out yourself. But I remember being 12 years old, 1976, and being enamored by athletic talent on track and field. But one thing I just want to share on behalf is our sincere appreciation for this honor. We're grateful for the opportunity to be a part of the Dayton Christian legacy. Thank you, Coach Karner, for pouring your life into ours, not only as a coach, but as a mentor and encourager. Thank you, Mr. Schindler, for your vision for educating for eternity. And as a pastor, as a leader, I've heard the challenge over the years to finish well. Have you ever heard that? Finish well. You know, in a race, the start is very important, but the finish is important too. And sometimes we tend to back down, or we tend to relax. We get used to the way things are. But Coach would always drill that thought into our heads with the hope that it would get into our hearts as well. Don't just start well, finish well. So to my fellow track brothers standing here on the stage with me, I want to encourage you and everyone here in this room, finish well in life. Amen. We got a lot more life left in us and a lot more to do. Let's focus on finishing well. You know, we all had an opportunity for a great education and faith through Dayton Christian. Trials may come our way. There have been many difficulties we've navigated. We may have overcome failures and disappointments that attempted to knock us out of the race, but we must persevere to the end. It is no less important now than it was almost 40 years ago to finish well, with Christ at the center of our lives. Amen? Thank you.
Congratulations to the 1982 boys track and field team on your induction to the 2020 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is Cheryl Smith. Cheryl served as the head varsity cheer coach for 14 years, from 1985 to 1999. During her tenure, she led the Dayton Christian competition cheerleading squad to multiple local and state cheer championships at Springboro, Ohio State, and ACSI State. Coach Smith also led her competition cheer squad to national prominence. After finishing runner-up in both 1990 and 91, her DC squad won the 1994 and 1999 Fellowship of Christian Cheerleaders National Championships in Orlando, Florida. In 1993, Coach Smith received National FCC Coach of the Year honors, and she developed at least a dozen cheerleaders who went on to competitively cheer at the collegiate level. Coach Smith will be introduced to you tonight by her daughters, both DC graduates, Karen Thompson and Brooke Baker.
Just two things really quick. We are not public speakers, and we are not going to do a cheer. Sorry to disappoint you. We were not surprised when we heard our mom was being inducted to the Dayton Christian Athletic Hall of Fame.
Her career started in 1983. I was only 7 years old. When she volunteered to be the DC 7th grade basketball cheerleading coach. But she quickly moved up to the high school and she began her Dayton Christian cheer legacy.
She poured herself into coaching and bringing out the best in so many girls and even one boy over her 16 years of coaching. It flew by in the blink of an eye and somehow felt like it was 40 years at the same time.
She lived and breathed cheerleading. She was always creating and even was known to get up in the middle of the night just to either write down and practice any cheer that might have come to her head in the middle of the night. She always, I think, she always said that her greatest ideas came during sleep.
I lost my face. Her drive for excellence was evident through practices, games, competition, and fundraising. In the early days, there was no budget for cheerleading, but she wanted us to not only be the best, but look our best. So this included sewing, I don't know how many camp uniforms, and we wore those things for years afterwards. I know a few of you out there have worn those outfits too.
She has since hung up her pom-poms, and so have we, obviously. But she still has the admiration, love, and respect for every single one of the cheerleaders that came through her program.
We were honored not only to be coached by our mom, but to have been able to coach alongside with her.
And it is our pleasure to introduce the two-time national champ and former FCC Coach of the Year,
Our mom, Cheryl Smith.
Thank you. It's quite an honor, and you can see what kind of challenge I had coaching girls sometimes, but honestly, it was such an honor and such a joy to be around them. They were full of energy and full of excitement, and I just kind of figured a way to bottle that and put it into good use for Dayton Christian. They were ambassadors for the Lord, ambassadors for their school, ambassadors for their parents, their friends, and they took it seriously. And that's what it took, seriousness. There's a couple things that I didn't write down that I might just jump in there, but I want to go over my speech first, and then I'll kind of share a couple things. Thank you, DC administrators, DC athletic boosters, fans, parents, assistant coaches, and athletes. This award is made up of fierce competitors that God entrusted me to coach. I only not got the chance to coach them, I mentored them, I prayed for them, and I cared for them deeply. The award presented tonight to me would not be possible without the endless practicing, gymnastic lessons, summer camps, clinics, teaching the younger generation through clinics to bring up girls that could have the skills that were going to be needed for the future. And learning to work as a team, not just as individuals, but caring deeply for each other and encouraging each other and building their team up to be something special. When we would walk into a competition, the very first time we went, we were like jaw-dropping scared because there were huge schools with lots of girls that looked like their skills were 1,000 times better than ours. And sometimes just to calm the nerves, and Steve Karner spoke about this, about being calm in the presence of fierce competition, we would sing. We would sing Christian hymns and songs and choruses to calm us down so that we could be focused on the right things. I'll never forget that. But at that first one that we were so scared of, the next year when we came back, it was not as bad. We didn't feel those nerves the same. So it was important for us to establish how we would feel, and the older generation then, the seniors and juniors, could help that younger generation calm those nerves down so that they can fulfill and do their best. It wasn't just competitions that we did, though. Even in games sometimes, we would be nervous for the teams. When the games, we knew it was a big game, they would be over there praying for the team to do their best and to calm their nerves and not just focus on themselves. They were focused on keeping the crowd under control, of having them join in the spirit of competition, of being fair, just showing their best abilities on the floor when they took the floor, and leaving where they were in better condition than they left it. So it wasn't just thinking about themselves all the time during competitions. But what I want to say is, when we got to those championship levels, when we walk in, those other teams would say, "There's St. Christian. Look at them. Oh, they were nervous about us." You know, that had changed. And it was because we were super focused on what God was doing in us and that we could share with them. So those were things that we learned. There were so many bruises, sore muscles. Even a few times I had to call an emergency squad to come and get somebody for an injury. So it wasn't as glamorous as it might look all the time. It was a lot of work. What was great about being a coach was God allowed me to be able to use me as a vehicle for them to reach their potential. Not just for me to be a great coach, but to push me to push them in the right way to improve them. So, you know, sometimes a girl would come and she was kind of on the outs a little bit because she was having a bad problem at home, or her boyfriend broke up with her, or there was a girlfriend thing, or whatever. But a lot of times it would take prayer for them. And they would come around usually. It didn't last long, but it was because we were in tune with how they were. And not just, come on, go out there and do your cheer. It wasn't about that. And I heard Jessica talk about that too, because it's more than that. It was more about building character into their lives. And it was just a wonderful time for me. I want to thank whoever thought I was worthy to receive this award. I don't know who nominated me, but I thank you for that, because it is a great, great thing that you did for me. And I really appreciate it. And these are wonderful memories I have. On behalf of them, I accept this award for the teams, all the other teams that were coached, not just the championship teams throughout the years, but all the teams that we built. We took a year and improved the next year, and improved the next year, and improved the next year. And for 14 years, we got to that. 1999 was my last year. We won the national championship, and it was an incredible feeling. And it's something that I wish all of you could experience. It was just wonderful. Without team building and dedication of improving skills throughout the years in creating this program, the success would not be possible at all. So thank you to the parents that allowed me and entrusted me with your children, that you said it was a good thing that they were doing. I'm humbled by the honor Dayton Christian gave me to even coach and demonstrate how to use those abilities that they had. I'm thankful and blessed that I'm here tonight. You know, things happen throughout our lives that take us on a different path. And 12 years ago, we moved out of state for my husband's position. And it was hard to leave my family and my Dayton Christian family. But it has been an honor to come back and represent here today. The opportunity to compete at a national level came through FCC. FCC is the Fellowship of Christian Cheerleaders. It's a nationwide event. It's huge, huge. We would go down to Orlando. I tried to make it cost effective for the students, so I became a fundraiser queen. As some of you know, my husband owned a car dealership, so he used to pay somebody to come in and wash the cars every week. So in the summer, I said, why don't you allow me to bring a group of cheerleaders each week? So we divided up in teams, and certain weeks, certain girls came. And I came in every time, but we washed all the cars on the lot. And that's how we funded going to nationals. So, you know, because it was quite expensive to fly to nationals and put them up in hotels and food and the cost of it all. But it was a way that we were able to build our program to be the most excellent thing it could possibly be. Talking about future athletes that came from Dayton Christian, we had several girls. I know of 6 for sure that cheered Division I in college, which is quite a feat for a small school like Dayton Christian. To go to Division I school, we had them at Ohio State, Wright State, Xavier. There may be a few more, but that is quite an accomplishment to have somebody from a school this size go to a Division I college. My prayer is that the opportunities all the athletes had will carry on in a mission of living their lives that represent Christ, now and in the future. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, and I want to leave you with this. You have a choice in life. You can either be a popper, or you can be a pumper. You can be a person that either pops and says, you're not good enough, you can't do it, give up. Or you can be a pumper and say, go, you can do it, I know you can. Just try, give it one more chance. Those are choices that you can make in life. And that is what I'd like to leave with you tonight. Thank you.
Congratulations, Cheryl Smith, on your induction into the 2020 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is Ken Petty for boys track and field and cross country, DC class of 1984. Ken Petty holds the distinction of being the first individual cross country state champion in Dayton Christian Athletics history. Following a 9th place finish in 1981 and a 3rd place finish in 1982, Petty went undefeated his senior season and won the Class A state cross country title in 1983 with a time of 15:56. Petty was a 3-year cross country and 4-year track and field varsity letter winner. He placed 3rd in the 3,200 meters in 1983 and 3rd in the 1,600 meters in 1984 at the state track meet. Petty earned all-state honors in track 4 times, all-state honors in cross-country 3 times, and in 1983 he was DC's first ever All-American athlete, earning All-American honors in cross-country. After graduation, Petty ran at the University of Kansas and served in the United States Navy. Ken will be introduced to you by his high school track and cross-country coach, Coach Steve Karner.
Good. Tired of seeing me up here. I'll just tell a couple quick stories. Oh, by the way, Linda, now I know what happened to the van. Okay? We went to a cross-country meet shortly after I think you used it, and it quit on us. We got to the meet about a minute and a half before the race was supposed to start. They gave us an extra 2 minutes to warm up, and then Ken ran away with it and finished about 30 seconds before the second place guy. So in spite of your, whatever you did to the van, it's good. Okay? gave you the stats on Ken. I won't go all through that. Ken came as a freshman. In cross country, he got injured his freshman year, so I didn't see how good he really was. Then his freshman year in track, look out, he showed his potential, and so I feel very honored to have coached him for 4 years. A couple stories I'd like to share. One was we wanted to get him some competition because there wasn't anybody around here that could beat him in cross country his senior year. So we went down to Lexington Catholic Invitational Cross Country Meet where they have 47 teams, I think, and I don't know how many, hundreds of athletes and everything else. And they start the race, and one of the team members has a set of binoculars, and I'm yelling at him, "Where's Petty? Tell me, I need to know." He goes, "Oh, he's in the lead." I said, "How many people are with him?" He goes, "Oh, just that same kid from Middletown, Madison that he races against every week." So he beat the best of the best in the whole area here, the tri-state area and more. When he was being recruited by University of Kansas, I happen to know the guy that recruited him, Roger Bowen. Roger said, "Okay, so tell me how good Petty really is." I said, "Well, I've never seen this happen ever in a cross-country racing. Cross-country, there's usually a golf cart that goes ahead of the runners so they don't get off the course, and the lead runner follows the golf cart. Well, golf cart wasn't going fast enough for Ken, he passed it. So that's how good he was. And I can tell you this, he stuck with the sport, he's been a fan of it ever since. I'm out on the track at Welcome Stadium one time a few years ago, I hear, "Coach, Coach." I look in the stands, there's Ken and his dad. So I'm honored to be able to present this to him, and I'm glad to give you Ken Petty.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming. I know it's a busy time of the year, getting so close to Christmas. Many of you would probably, well, maybe not too many are old enough to remember going downtown to look at the windows at Reich's and sit on Santa's knee. Anyway, again, thanks for coming out. And thanks to Coach Karner for the introduction and all the time and effort and that he put into the coaching and motivation. And you already heard it. You heard what was on his mind. One of the things he's talked about was relax and intensity. Back in those days, it was relax and go. So when he would cheer us on, that's what he would shout at us. Relax and go. Thanks to all the leadership, staff, alumni, the boosters, the committee for putting this event together. I want to thank my wife, Elaine, of 33 years. She's here to support me. And congratulations to my fellow inductees. I hope you feel as grateful and honored as I do. There was no point, I wasn't really sure what I should say because I wasn't sure about the audience, what it was made up of, who it was made up of, age groups, etc. So this may not be that appropriate. However, I grew up in Beaver Creek and started running at a young age, little boy. And it wasn't really for the love of running, it was more about getting my paper route done as fast as I possibly could. Getting the grass cut as fast as I could. We weren't allowed to go to the pool on Saturday until the grass was cut. And we had a self-propelled mower. So we disabled that so that we could actually literally run behind the mower and cut the grass. or possibly be the first one to get to the fort in the woods. Or, most importantly, be home in time for supper. That was big trouble if you weren't. I started officially running as a 7th grader at Ankeny Junior High on the Beaver Creek. I wanted to play football, as most boys did back then, but my dad, Don, and my mom, Frances, it was forbidden for us to play football. They were worried about injuries, I guess. So I went out for cross country, and our coach was very different than Coach Karner. She was, and I won't mention her name, but she was more of a hands-off coach that said, okay, boys, just go run in the woods. And then I think she would just go off and grade papers or whatever while we were gone. And it was a bunch of boys that were running in woods that we grew up in and played in all summer long, so we knew the paths and the trails and what have you. I did pretty well and ran reasonably well my 8th grade year. And then the Lord led my parents to change schools, to send my sister and I from Beaver Creek system out of that den of iniquity to Dayton Christian. And it had nothing to do with sports, it had more to do with a better spiritual upbringing and not wearing bell-bottom jeans and black t-shirts and a big comb sticking out of the back pocket and long hair, that kind of thing. But anyway. I was encouraged by a fellow member at Patterson Park Church, many of you may know him, Jay Johnson, to go out for cross country. And his son Ben was my friend, and he was going out as well. So that's when I first met Coach Karner, and we showed up. We weren't driving yet, we got a ride from one of our parents. And I showed up, I don't think Coach was overly impressed with me at first. I had on my t-shirt, just a plain t-shirt, my plain pocket jeans from JCPenney, and my grass-stained PF Flyers. I didn't know much about competitive running. I mean, we just ran in the woods to run. That's what we did in junior high. But anyway, with the leadership and example set by the leaders of our team at that time, Kenny Justice and Carlton Jenkins, I soon learned how to be well outfitted and competitive racer. And that was the leadership aspect of it. Now, cross country is, maybe people aren't that familiar with it, but we're a team, there's no doubt. But once the gun sounds, it's a race, and it's every man for himself. You know, we don't fall back to help a guy or look back and then say, come on, come catch me, or, you know, I want to, win this, well, at least in my mind, we want to win the race. And we had a lot of grueling training, and Coach participated with us. We would, after school, we would go stretch, and this is at the old Homewood campus. We would stretch under a tree, and then brave ourselves through the neighborhood down to the bike path. So we didn't jaywalk. Well, we may have jaywalked. Yeah, we did. Okay, we jaywalked, and went down across Ridge Avenue or down to the bike path, and we would literally run down to Welcome Stadium or farther and back, and he would go with us every step of the way, and we would recite Bible verses. If there was no water bottles, there was no water breaks, there was no sanitary breaks, it was just run. If you did get thirsty or desperate, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Dayton bike path, but we ran usually on the bottom section down by the river, and there was water fountains up at the top. So if you really were that desperate, you had to sprint up the hill to get to the top, slurp down some water real quick, and then catch up with the team. We ran as a pack. We always stayed together as a pack. We would also do interval training down at Triangle Park, which, now you, I guess, need to be pretty brave probably to train down there, but we did. And Coach was a biology teacher and kind of a scientist. I mean, he would actually take our calls in between intervals and wait till it got down to a certain level before he would send us on another lab. So it was very scientific the way he trained us. It was kind of the golden age in my mind. There was Bill Rogers and Frank Shorter, Al Salazar, distance runners, famous distance runners. But anyway, I again wanted to thank everybody. Appreciate the honor of being selected as a group, and additionally, I'd like to hope to repay by helping out with current and future student athletes, however I can. Most of the people here or in the organization have my contact info. And thanks again.
Congratulations, Ken Petty, on your induction into the 2020 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Does everyone want to take like 15, 20 seconds just to stand up, stretch your legs a little bit? Everybody's been sitting for a long time. Why don't we just take a few seconds? I don't want anybody to go anywhere. We have 3 or 4 left in the 2020 class we want to do, but take a second, stretch your legs. Moving on, our next inductee is Belle Alvin Mendez, girls basketball from DC's class of 2000. Despite playing only 2 seasons at Dayton Christian, Alvin made a lasting impact on the girls basketball program for decades to come. She averaged 18 points and 11 rebounds per game her senior year, while garnering all-state, all-district, and all-conference honors, and was recruited by over 100 colleges. In 2000, Adidas placed her as the number 17th ranked player in the nation, and she was the first DC girls basketball player to ever receive honorable mention as a McDonald's All-American. After graduation, she attended and started for the University of Kentucky, and later transferred to and started for North Carolina State University. After college, she played professionally for 4 years in Turkey, Israel, and Poland. And from 2001 to 2010, she represented the Cameroon national basketball team in international competition, serving as their team captain from 2007 to 2009. Alvin will be introduced by coach and family friend Julius Lattimore.
Good evening. Not much more I can say about Alvin's accomplishments. She's definitely a stellar person. She had character. She embodied the things that were taught to her while she was here at school, her character, everything. When she was at Kentucky, she was the only freshman that started all 28 games in the season while she was here at Kentucky. Coach Gary Lowe couldn't be here, and I followed Alvin through her career after high school. We were able to go see her in Kentucky. We went down to NC State. We had the privilege of walking her across the stage on her senior night, going down for her graduation. She just embodied everything that you would want out of a young lady, and a lot of that was taught to her here. So it's for me, great honor that I get to introduce and show you Alvin Mendez. Unfortunately, she could not be here this evening. She's actually out of the country, but I think she has a video to show.
Hello, Crusaders and Dayton Christian family. I trust everyone is doing well. I first want to apologize for not being able to be with you all today. To see familiar faces, friendly smiles, give and receive hugs. The one unfamiliar yet friendly and amicable thing that I've learned and embraced during my time at Dayton Christian High School. I also want to thank you for selecting me as being one of the 2020 Hall of Fame recipients. And for that, I want to take this opportunity to thank my teammates that have provided a sense of teaming and togetherness. I want to thank my coaches that have motivated and pushed me to accomplish the things that I didn't think I could accomplish. I want to thank my family and friends that have provided the emotional support that I needed to step on the court every day and play the game of basketball. And I also want to thank the fans that have traveled with us in every single games, that have showed up and supported us during games. Playing at Dayton Christian and for Dayton Christian has laid the foundation for my basketball career at the college level and at the professional level. And for that, I will forever be thankful. And I'm standing before you today to accept this award and to thank you for the support and love that you have provided and shown me during my time with you all. I love you, I miss you, and stay blessed.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alvin. Our next inductee is Stephen Vaughn, boys soccer coach, class of 1980. Steve Vaughn had a 25-year coaching career at DC, serving as head varsity coach from 1993 to 95, and again from 2008 to 2013. As head coach, Steve led Dayton Christian boys soccer team to 6 sectional finals, 4 district finals, 1 district championship, and the regional final championship game in 2011. Also in 2011, he received 4 Coach of the Year honors: NSCAA Ohio Private Parochial, OSCCA State Boys Private Parochial, MVSSCA, and Metro Buckeye Conference Coach of the Year. Steve continues to coach women's soccer within the Cincinnati United Soccer Club and holds a USSF National D coaching license. Coach Vaughn will be introduced to you by his son and DC alum, Parker Vaughn.
Well, thank you guys for coming out. As you heard, I'm his Stephen's second son, Parker. That's quite the hairdo up there. I thought I should introduce him since I nominated him, and it's the least I could do since he hates events like these and being in front of a lot of people. So he began coaching in 1987, long before I was born. So over 30 years of coaching. 20 years of that has been at Dayton Christian, which varied between JV and assistant coach and varsity coach. Throughout the years, he would be varsity coach, and then they would come in and bring someone else in. He would step down to assistant, and back and forth between assistant and varsity coach. He's coached over 50, 60 players to go on to play in college. I'm one of them, his other sons are other of them, but we've been very blessed to have him, obviously, as a father, as one of my best friends, and a soccer coach. And as you heard, his accolades, I mean, outside of his accolades that he's had, more importantly, the impact that he's had on the coaching, the soccer program at Dayton Christian. His DNA, his fingerprints are still embedded in Dayton Christian men's soccer. James Holliday played for Stephen Vaughn Neil Kraft played for Stephen Vaughn. Paul Holliday played for Stephen Vaughn. And so the culture that he created at Dayton Christian, the brotherhood, the as iron sharpens iron culture that was created for men's soccer at Dayton Christian, he was integral in laying that foundation. I mean, the coaches that he's coached alongside, Dave Jackson, Brent Davis, Tom Roby, Andrew Bellman, played for Ron P. when Ron P. was a coach. And so it's an honor to be his son, also his employee. He was very integral in my life as a player. I've had the privilege to coach alongside him for the past 7 years as a club coach, which has been fantastic. I was never a great athletic player, but he instilled in me the intellectual parts of soccer, which carried me a long way through college, even if I lacked some of the athletic abilities that might carry others. So I can't thank him enough for. I wish they would have put a picture up that we have of. I think it was district finals, and it was against Franklin Monroe, and it was district finals. It was halftime. We were down 2-0. We came back to tie it 2-2, and then they scored again, and it was 3-2. We scored again, it was 3-3, and then in the last second of the game, we scored to win 4-3, and there's this picture that we have of him and I hugging each other and embracing, and it was very impactful for me, and it was just, I posted on social media every single Father's Day because it's accurately describes our relationship and as father, a coach, and a best friend of mine. So, Steve, and I call him vice versa, so that's not that weird.
Thanks, Parker. I actually made him introduce me because he nominated me. He nominated me before I even knew there was that was in 2019. I didn't even know there was a Hall of Fame, and he came home and said, hey, I nominated you to the Dayton Athletic Hall of Fame. I was like, I didn't even know we had one. So I thought it was only fitting that he caused all this, so make him have to get up here in front of everybody as well. I want to thank Parker, of course, and I want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, Steve Skolick and the DCS Athletic Hall of Fame committee for nominating, voting committee for putting all this together, a special occasion, in the event and voting me into the Hall of Fame. I want to thank my wife, Heidi, for putting up with me. Well, that's just a given. But for putting up with year-round coaching schedule for the last 30+ years. Vacations are always planned around soccer. Dinners are always late. People wonder why we always eat dinner at 8:30 or so, or later on game nights. But, so the family's always done that. Vacations, dinners, and I have a rarely completed honey-do list at home because I'm always gone. I'm also thankful for my kids, all of whom I've had the privilege to coach. However, at times I could not be at all their events because I have my own events to be at. And so we worked it out well. It was a privilege to be able to coach them. But, and I'm thankful for them putting up with me for all that. I'm thankful and blessed for all the relationships that I've developed with DCS coaches and coaches from other teams over the years. It's a blessing to be able to work with so many players and their families, and I'm humbled to be able to call so many coaches and players my friends. It's a little bit hard to explain. I was trying to think about this the other day. So when I was nominated in 2011 to go to the state as a coach, parochial coach, it was a little bit awkward. It was kind of like filling out the application for this, because, you know, when they first, I think the application when they first did it was for athletes, right? And so I'm trying to figure out how to fill this out. Well, I didn't really have any athletic anything. I mean, I played soccer, but I wasn't great. And so it was kind of just hard to fill that out. Well, when I filled out the state application as well, I thought, I'm never going to get nominated because, I mean, I'm all over the place as far as, you know, I haven't kept track of wins and losses, and I haven't, and I truly was started as a JV coach, ended up varsity assistant, became the head coach, and for various reasons, it's not like they kicked me out, but I would quit, or something like my family's young, or what happened over the years too is I really had a heart for mentoring, and so I thought, oh, it's time for me to step down and mentor somebody else. And so I just did that off and on. And for me, it was coaching. It was always the same. I mean, if I got to be on the pitch, on the field, participating with the players, that's what I really cared about. And so for me, it was all the same, whether I was head coach, and Jessica will tell you, if you're not head coach, there's far less headaches, and, you know, far less planning and stuff like that. So, so that's why, and it was really just hard to kind of explain to people, well, when I'm filling out these things, what kind of my path. But it's been a path I don't regret, and I love the, excuse me, the relationships with the coaches and players that I've developed over the years. And I was recently thinking about, just because of this, largely what's influenced my coaching over the years. And there are three major things that influenced my coaching and who I am as a coach today. And I am still coaching, and I'm afraid at my age, but I'm still afraid to give it up because it's like been so much of a part of who I am, and I still enjoy it. And I'm a little bit afraid that if I quit, I mean, I know I won't go back if I quit. So, and I still love it, so I still keep doing it. And these three things, and largely all associated with Dayton Christian. So one, the first thing was my relationship with Ron P. as a student. Again, I wasn't a great coach. I wasn't a great player, but Ron P. and those of you who are students around my age knew him. He believed in me and everyone, I think, that he taught and coached. He believed in us and myself as a person. It was through his coaching and teaching that I experienced how powerful and impactful a coach and teacher could have in a player or a student's life. And that impact may last a lifetime, as it did for me. Second, when I was an assistant coach for Dave Jackson, this would have been, well, I'm not even going to try to date myself, but we had a Dutch national team coaches come and run some sessions for us. They were here for doing something special, and Dave connected with them and got them to come do some training for us. Well, I just happened to talk to some of the coaches that were there, and I said, how are you guys judged? What makes you guys a good coach or a bad coach? Or, you know, how do you guys judge? And I said, are you judged by like your record, how your wins and losses are? And he said, no, we're not in Holland judged by our wins and losses, but we're judged by how many of our players go on and play at the next level. And so that really impacted me. And that philosophy has really heavily influenced how I learn, how I organize, how I prioritize my coaching goals, and how I judge and challenge myself, even with my coaching today. And then lastly, some of you, if you've taught here, you may recognize this, but as a teacher at DC, because I did teach, I taught Bible for 5 or 6 years. We took a CE class called The Laws of the Learner. The basic philosophy of that training that I took out of it was that if my students, and I tried to do this in the classroom and then definitely in coaching, if my students or players were not learning, then I was not teaching. I mean, as simple as that. And I still use that principle in my coaching today. Training is my classroom, like practice is my classroom, and competition is my grade card. So I judge whether my players are learning based on how my players are playing in games. And it doesn't matter if they're winning or losing, but how they're playing, what I'm teaching them. Like, you know, so for me, it matters how they play, not the end result. The end results will come if we play good soccer. And the other thing is, in trying to play good soccer, in my mind, that's how they move on, that's how I educate them, that's how they're able to go on and play at a higher level. And, but that's my grade card, is how they're playing. And then the other thing I would encourage my players is to focus on what they can change, not what they can't change. Because it's often easy to get sidetracked by what you can't change in a game, and then you lose focus on what you can change and should change. I've always wanted to make a difference for Christ in my coaching and my relationships. It's a little bit more challenging now when you're in the world, you know, when you're coaching in a club system, but I still try to do it, try to be salt and light. My goal has always been to educate and prepare my players to go on to the next level. And I have always wanted my players to love the game and enjoy the process of reaching goals as a team. Soccer, this has been said more than once, soccer is a microcosm of life, as all sports are. And there are many opportunities for teaching life to players and to have an impact on them through that teaching. And I hope, and my desire is, and I'm thankful that many of my former players and players that I've been around as they've grown as players have become coaches. And I want my players to go on and coach their own teams and to have that impact and to impact the next generation and for them to do it, you know, to do it that way. And so that's something that I get excited when I see former players coaching. And you know, when you've coached along as myself, just like Jessica said, you know, you coach kids of players you coach. So it's a little scary, but I am thankful for Dayton Christian and the privilege I had to go to DC, to graduate from DC, to teach at DC, to coach at DC, and to have my 4 children graduate from DC. I am humbled to have been nominated and inducted into the DC Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2020, and it is with pride and honor that I accept such a privilege. Thank you.
Congratulations, Stephen Vaughn, on your induction into the 2020 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is Matthew Thomas, track and field class of 1982. Matt holds the distinction of being DC's first ever individual state champion, winning the high jump event in 1982. That winning jump was 6 feet 6 inches. He was a 4-year varsity letter winner and captain of DC's 1982 Class A state champion boys track and field team. That year, Thomas earned the first team honors for all area, all district, all region, and all state. And nearly 40 years later, Thomas still holds the school's high jump record at 6 feet 7 3/4 inches. Matt will be introduced to you by his high school coach, Steve Karner.
I promise this is the last one. I'll work backwards with Matt. He's a successful pastor. I listen to his sermons online once in a while. He does a bang-up job. He has a wonderful wife and 8 kids. I think he's been successful in this life at this point. Did I say something wrong? Like, yeah. Okay. I thought maybe I said you had 8 wives and something. I don't know. I want to tell you 2 stories real quick. Beginning of Matt's senior season, he came to me and he said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I can run track because there was some kind of glitch. He collected Social Security because his dad had passed away, and I understood that because I had the same thing when I was in high school. He said I have to be a student at Sinclair, otherwise I'm going to lose my benefits. And he said, I don't know how in the world I'm going to work all this out. So I procured a key and gave him permission to open up at night and come into the gymnasium. We set up the high jump pit in the gymnasium, and he'd jump it at night, 3 nights a week. And that's dedication when you can do that. Go to school all day, go to Sinclair for several hours, and then come and practice high jump. The second story I'd like to tell you, and I'll tell the clean version of this because there was a word that someone said that wasn't so nice, but anyway, we were at the state meet in 1982 when we won. Matt was first up. They started the high jump at some ridiculous time in the morning, like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. We had to get up at the wee hours while it was still dark and drive over because I wasn't staying overnight. And we sat down. It was done at Ohio State at the Horseshoe before they added on and took out the track. We sat down in a place that was good to view the high jump, and we're awaiting the start of it, and some guy comes up, sits down in front. He's the coach from Columbus Academy who had won the state the year before, and he said, "I'm here just to watch the Dayton Christian kid get his posterior kicked." He didn't say posterior, anyway. So anyway, Matt proceeded to not miss any height. He went 6 foot, 6'2", 6'4", 6'6", and he's done, and their kid no heighting. That means he didn't clear anything. And he got us started off with a bang at the state meet that year, but far, far more importantly than state titles that he won is what he's doing today and what he's done for the last 30 years or so. And I'm honored to introduce Matt Thomas. Oh, and you guys have improved the music selections here at Dayton Christian.
Thanks so much, Coach, and I'm going to abbreviate my comments. So I've already been up here, but I do want to say thank you so much to my wife, my amazing wife. 34 years we've been married, Beverly, and our 8 awesome children, and 2 of those kids are here tonight. My oldest son with his wife, Tia, Michael, and then my daughter, Stephanie. And our other kids are spread out in Texas, Iowa, and different parts of Dayton. So we're so glad to be here tonight. I do want to just say a couple things. Thank you so much, Coach. You know, I forgot about the part of you letting me in, or arranging it so I could get in and jump at night. My dad, Harold Long, my stepfather, was worked for DC for 18 years as maintenance supervisor. And so, you know, Dad was always around, and you know, it amazed me the sacrifices my parents made for us to go to Dayton Christian. We were not a wealthy family at all. I think back in those days, the late 70s, early 80s, they were paying like over $600 a month in tuition for all of us kids that went. I mean, they had a commitment to make sure we got a good education. And because of that, we cherished our education at Dayton Christian. I mean, you did not come home with B's. You worked hard. You got A's. You got on the honor roll. I mean, that was what was expected, that you did your best. Because we were thankful. I remember going to school with kids that didn't want to be at DC. They're like, man, my parents made me go here, and they acted like it was prison. And I thought, you guys are crazy. We get this wonderful opportunity. And I've cherished it my whole life, and very thankful. So just a couple memories here, and that is spring of '82 on Ohio State Stadium. Had the opportunity to jump and had no misses, and I'm sitting there waiting for my turn to jump, and just sitting. And all of a sudden, reverberating off the stadium. I mean, seriously, it's like, you know, Thomas! And it's like, Thomas. Get up and stretch. And I jumped up, you know, because Coach is a human megaphone, man. So I jumped up, and I didn't think about being embarrassed. I just thought, I better stretch, you know. So I started stretching. So as a good pastor and a good preacher, I'm going to make an acronym out of that word stretch, okay, and close this out. But it reminded me that we can get comfortable and complacent when things seem to be going great, right? And it's those moments that we have to remember something very simple, just like that word stretch. It reminded me, I better stretch out, I better get ready, because I may have to jump some more. And so, immediately I started doing that. So here's a little acronym for you for the word stretch. Strive to respect the eternal truth of Christ's hope. Let me say it again. Strive to respect the eternal truth of Christ's hope. See, we're called to be Christ followers. I've been preaching a series this year on being a spirit-empowered believer. And that we are Christ ambassadors. Amen? And at the age of 17 and memorizing, Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ. It gives me strength, and somehow that's going to motivate me to jump higher, run faster. Not me run faster, but jump higher. And I think about that back then, but then I think how that was so foundational to stay with me and then be deeper truth upon deeper truth upon deeper truth. Amen? And when Steve was talking about mentoring and the importance of mentoring, that's what happened in me. God got a hold of my life at the age of 17. And all that had been put into me, the scriptures, memorizing the book of 1 John, memorizing James, memorizing several chapters in Matthew, and having to quote those before you graduated, those truths stayed with me and continue to encourage me. So when I think about every day, I want to be thankful for the foundation I've been given in Christ. I want to be thankful for the hope that I have in Christ because it moves me toward the future. It gets me to get up every day and do the routine things that need to be done. The stretching, the reading of the Word, the praying, the seeking God, the obeying His Word. Not just reading it, but obeying it. And as we continue to do those things, then we're going to be ready when called upon. Amen? See, you walk out of this door tonight and you go to church tomorrow. Many of you are ministering in some capacity. You're teaching. You're influencing. And there's going to be those times, not when you feel like it, not when you even feel ready, but somebody's going to need a word of encouragement from you, a word of instruction, maybe even a word of rebuke. So I'm thankful, very grateful for the opportunity to have been a student at Dayton Christian, and thank you for this honor to be in the Athletic Hall of Fame. Psalm 37:23-4 says this, and this is a life verse for me. The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by the hand. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Matt Thomas, on your induction to the 2020 class at the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Matt took us to church there, too. The final inductee for the 2020 class of the Dayton Christian Athletic Hall of Fame is Robert Haddock, boys soccer, class of 2008. Haddock was a 4-year varsity letter winner and 2-time Conference Player of the Year in 2006 and 2007. In 2006, Haddock was selected District Player of the Year and 3rd Team All-State. His senior season, he was named 1st Team All-State and the All-Midwest Player of the Year. Rob currently holds records in the school's top 10, including 33 career goals and 32 career assists. After graduation, Haddock played Division I soccer at top 25 ranked George Mason University for 2 years, until an injury unfortunately ended his career. Rob will be introduced by his teammate and close friend, DC alum and current DC varsity basketball coach, JT Holliday.
It's an honor to be up here and get a chance to talk about my dear friend Rob Haddock. He's well deserving of all of his accomplishments and being here in the Hall of Fame, just like all you great athletes, coaches, and teams. Rob really sticks out to me, and the quick highlights I have to mention it's work ethic and it's perseverance. And just like many great speakers tonight have already touched on it, you apply a lot of those things into the real world, and a lot of those lessons you go through, it's able to impact your life after your athletic career ends. So Rob, his injuries were actually a lot more than just a senior year ankle break. He tore his ACL early on in high school, but his work ethic and perseverance got him right back to the top, and all his accomplishments came. And even in college, what his college career ending injury was another ACL tear. But Rob didn't take that and just get shut down. A lot of great athletes, sometimes after that goes away, it's hard for them to find a new path. He didn't skip a beat. He went right to WashU, St. Louis, and started working for the DEA and graduated top of his class, and then started working for Goldman Sachs for a couple of years, and then went to Columbia, got his MBA, and travels the world now as a director for an investment firm. And he said he was going to do that from the start, which is always Rob. If he was going to put his mind to something, he was going to accomplish that. And I'll leave you with one quick story, because Rob, probably like a lot of athletes, did not lack in one area, and I'll call that confidence. There's other words for it, but with Rob, even freshman year, playing soccer, I just remember him talking about what the school's going to do for him one day, because he's going to be the greatest player they've ever seen, and one day there'll be a statue of him. And Rob, you do not get a statue. I'm sorry, it does not come with the Hall of Fame, but you get this little thing here, and you're on the wall out there, and it's going to have to do for now. But I'm proud of Rob, love him to death, and wish he could be here, but he's got a good video for us. Thank you.
Cue video.
To start off by thanking JT, who I'm sure as my oldest friend in life just did an awesome intro, and didn't let me down, or somebody will let me know if he does. Unfortunately, I can't be there. I am in Europe right now with my wife, rescheduled vacation, but I wanted to start off and make sure that I recorded this from my place in Brooklyn, so I could just let everyone know how grateful and humble I am to be honored with these amazing athletes and people who are in the room tonight, and those who may not be as well. I want to start off by thanking Dayton Christian for giving me the opportunity, thanking Steve Skolik for putting this all together. And, many people at DC were instrumental in my success as an athlete and as a person in life. I think many of you who've known me for a long period of time in DC, just how important and instrumental soccer was in my life, both just in terms of the effect it had on me as a child, but also the things that it taught me in life about perseverance, about hard work, about social skills, about building relationships, about leadership. And these are key skills that are really important to me and really instrumental in my life, even as an adult and post my soccer career. The end of my soccer career, some people might know, was hard on me. It was a series of injuries, 2 ACL tears and a dislocated ankle. During the end of my senior year and into college while I was playing. And at the end of that first year of soccer in college and during the off season when I had that second ACL tear, I realized I probably wasn't going to be able to play again. And I was, at the time, quite depressed, and I struggled with that for a while. And it was something that was hard for me to fill the hole that soccer had left in my life. And it was these skills and the support system that I had that allowed me to kind of find a new path and get to where I am now. I don't think without the skills that I learned during soccer that I would have been able to move to New York City without knowing anybody, or I would have had the belief in myself to go to graduate school and pursue graduate education at Columbia, or build a new business within my old firm. And it's because of those experiences that I've really been able to have a successful career and a successful athletic career as well. And I thank God every day for those experiences. Now, I wouldn't want to end this without thanking everyone who provided a hand in helping me both in high school and now. And I know I'm going to leave somebody out, so I'm really sorry if I did that. It wasn't purposeful. But I'll start off by thanking my family, and especially my mother, who was more supportive and caring than I really deserved. Thank my teachers at Dayton Christian, who helped me even at times when I wasn't the best student. Thankful for Tom Roby, who was our coach at the time, and challenged me to be the best that I could be. Thankful for all of the people that I played with who pushed me and who were part of the team with me, especially Brennan Black and JT Holiday, who have become lifelong friends. Thankful for Maurice, who was my workout partner and trainer for a really long period of time, and even through the ups and downs. And lastly, I'm thankful for my lovely wife, who, while I didn't know her during my soccer career, has been nothing but supportive of hearing all of my glory day stories. It's great to be here, and even virtually, and I wish you all the best tonight. Thanks again.
Okay, we would like for all of the class of 2020 Athletic Hall of Fame members to come up to the front. Bring your awards with you. We're going to take a picture. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started again. Appreciate everybody hanging in there. As you know, we're trying to squeeze 2 induction classes into one event, so thanks so much for hanging in there. Start working your way back to your tables. I'm going to go off script just really quick because I'm curious. I know a lot of people travel to get here. I'm wondering who traveled the furthest to get here just for this evening. Can you guys raise your hand if you traveled from out of state to come here? Couple right here. How about like really far out of state? Like, how far is really far out of state here? Sarasota, Florida, okay. Back there. Where's that? North Carolina, okay. What else? Kansas. Texas. Colorado. My geography's not there. Which one's the furthest? Is Colorado the furthest? I mean, not that this wasn't part of the script. We don't have a prize or anything. But actually, there's a gray 2011-ish Volkswagen Jetta parked outside. Maybe we should give that away to the person that came the furthest. Is that cool? You'd have to take Steve Skolek home first, but then we'll go ahead and do that. So, okay. So congratulations to people coming the furthest. I appreciate it. Let's get started again. Oh, here we go. It's about time we get some baseball up here. The first inductee for our 2021 Hall of Fame class is Zach Helm. Zach, in the DC class of 2003, was a standout infielder for the DC baseball team from 2000 to 2003. He was a 4-year varsity letter winner and 2-time captain for the Crusaders, leading them to a 17-9 record and Southwest District Finals appearance in 2003. Helm placed in the top 5 in the Dayton area in batting average 3 of his 4 years at DC, with a career batting average of .466 while amassing 103 total RBIs. He earned Miami Valley Baseball Coaches Association first-team All-Area honors in both his junior and senior season. Helm was recognized with the 2003 DC Shield Award, given annually to the athlete who exhibits total release in performance, spiritual leadership, academic effort, attitude, and athletic ability. After high school, Helm earned NAIA All-American First-Team honors and as a senior at Mount Vernon Nazarene University, batting .413 with 40 RBIs. Zach will be introduced to you by his father, David Helm.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. It's an honor to be here tonight to present this award to my son. Zach's little baseball started when he was a toddler in diapers. We used to watch him toddle around the house with a toy baseball, one of those big bats, doing this. And his grandfather used to love to play with him. And he encouraged him to hold the bat up while I throw him the ball. Of Grandpa softly tossed in the ball just from a few feet away. The little guy nearly knocked Grandpa's glasses off of the line drive. We're like, oh wow, that had to be a fluke. Wasn't that cute? So Grandpa backs up to a little safer distance, throws him another. He line drives it again. So that was the moment that we knew Zach's passion for baseball and also our joy in watching him play this game that he loved. And Zach's passion for baseball continued to blossom into many blessings for our entire family. His twin sister Molly, who's here tonight, was spotted on the sidelines by a teammate of Zach's during summer baseball. Well, that teammate went on to become one of Zach's greatest friends and incidentally, a minor side note, Molly's husband. So I must acknowledge Steve Scully tonight, his high school baseball coach. It's not often that a coach and a player remain friends for 18 years after that last pitch has been thrown. And one of the things I really appreciate a lot about Zach, and one of his greatest character traits, which I really aspire for myself, is that of perseverance. This young man loved his sports, and he endured a lot of ups and downs through his athletic career. And then in life, he had a lot of those, what I would call 2-3 count, 2 outs, and bases loaded moments in life. And watch him persevere and live out his own faith. So Zach, it's my great honor to present this award to you tonight.
You guys hear me okay? It's loud in here, wow. Okay. Good evening. It's great to see you guys all here tonight. I first want to congratulate all the former players and teams who were nominated and selected to be part of this special occasion. It's a long night, I know. I also want to thank DC Athletics, the boosters, and the Hall of Fame committee for putting on such a first-class event, and we could applaud them really quick for this tonight. It would be easy to make some just type of social media post acknowledging some players, but you guys went above and beyond to ensure a lot of us were remembered for a long time. So for that, we really appreciate it. Most importantly, I'd like to acknowledge my beautiful wife, Leah, who is due at any time right now with our third child. I can assure you the last thing on her mind is what her husband did 20 years ago on the baseball field. So, but we gave the kid a locker room speech. We said, hey, just keep tight for a couple more days. So far, he's listening to the game plan. Lee, if you would stand up. I'm just kidding, don't do that. Don't do that. But yeah, thank you again for being here tonight. To my sister Molly, who's actually the family athlete right now, as she places in most of her marathons she runs. So thank you, Molly, for being here. My brother-in-law, Chad, is also here. If there was an award for the furthest home run hit in DC history, Chad would have it. Unfortunately, he was playing for Eaton High School at the time. So, as the story goes, I remember this, I was on third base and our pitcher's name was Eric. And we knew Chad was leading the Dayton area in home runs. And all of a sudden I called time. I said, Lou, hold on for a second. I go up to Eric. I say, Eric, whatever you do not throw this pitch down the middle or up at all. He will hit it out. I promise you, you won't see the baseball again. Eric looks at me and says, I got it. I'll keep it away. Okay, keep it away, Eric. I go back to third base. The very next pitch is up and over the plate. Next thing I know, I'm looking at the ball and landing into a swimming pool a couple of houses down. So, Eric quit baseball that day, actually. No, just kidding. He did not. But to Ben Mcbride, my best friend since kindergarten, he was supposed to be here, but he had an illness with his family, so he could not be here. I appreciate him because he made sure I didn't take myself too seriously. We've been best friends since kindergarten, and we just had a blast together. This kid would eat 6 hot dogs in a baseball game, and he would come over, he had mustard and ketchup on his hands, and he'd be slapping guys' butts, saying, good job, he was just a good cheerleader. And he was just a really good friend to have around, so I appreciate Ben Mcbride quite a bit being around for so long. To Coach Skolik, I can remember being a cocky 8th grader, showing up in your summer class knowing you were the varsity baseball coach. I believe I told you I was going to make varsity as a freshman, and thanks for not kicking me out of class that day and actually allowing me to
prove I could hang with the bigger guys as a freshman. One thing that coach won't tell you, but I will, his win-loss record could have been a lot better at this school. It was still pretty good, but he took us out of the league we were in because it wasn't very competitive, and we went out and became independent. And so we played the Alters, the Fairmonts. We had a D1 schedule a lot of the times. And so I'm really thankful for that because I became a better ball player because you made us play the best. You didn't care about wins and losses. You wanted us to be better. Most importantly, you wanted us to be men of God. We appreciate that, and I still consider you a friend and mentor today, so thank you, Coach, for that as well. When I was told I was selected into the DC Hall of Fame, it forced me to go down to the basement and dust off some boxes and kind of dig through everything. It was fun seeing some of the accolades and the awards and some of the former teammates I had the privilege of playing with. However, most of those things were hard for me to remember now that it was about 20 years ago. Again, it was a long time. As I continued to go through the boxes, the personal accolades quickly became an afterthought, and I started to think more about the important memories I had about the game that shaped my athletic career. One of those memories I have is always looking over on the sideline and seeing both my parents at the game. I don't think I could probably remember a handful of times how many times I'd look down the sideline and not see those folks sitting in the lawn chairs watching a boy play baseball. As a young athlete, I took that for granted, but now as a parent, I really appreciate that today. In fact, one of the greatest gifts I tell people all the time about being a parent is the perspective that God gives you. So Mom and Dad, thank you guys for always being at the baseball games today. To end here, one of the more unselfish plays in the game of baseball is the sacrifice bunt. It's used to advance your teammate into scoring position. We all know most of the time the bunter is thrown out. They call that giving yourself up. I would say that categorizes many of the teachers and coaches I had at DC, and most importantly, it's what my family did for me. That's really what the game ultimately taught me, and that's the legacy I hope to leave with my family today. So thank you guys.
Congratulations, Zach Helm, on your induction into 2021 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Zach read his acceptance speech off an iPad. I don't know why, but that makes me feel old. Our next inductee in the 2021 Hall of Fame class is Linda Lane Chadwick, DC class of 1979. Linda earned 12 varsity letters during her career as a multi-sport athlete at DC. As a starter, 4-time letter winner, and 3-time captain for the Lady Crusaders basketball team, Linda became DC's first 1,000-point scorer, a full 8 years before the advent of the three-point line. She was a 4-year starter at shortstop and pitcher for the Lady Crusaders softball team, hitting a robust 400 in her senior year. She was also a standout hitter and key contributor to DC's 1978 volleyball team, the first team in school history to advance to any OHSAA state-level competition. After leaving DC, Linda attended Gordon College on an athletic scholarship where she received the Sportsmanship Award in 1982 and played 4 years of softball, 2 years of basketball, and 1 year of volleyball. Linda will be introduced to you tonight by her husband, Kent Chadwick.
Good evening. My name is Kent Chadwick, and I am going to introduce my lovely wife, Linda Ann Chadwick, class of '79. And although the crowd's thinned out a little bit, I won't be too long. I will actually try to not to repeat as many things that have already been said that have been wonderful. In fact, a foot stomp. The whole DC community and the environment is truly a blessing of God. Both not only for Linda as she reflects in her '79 accolades, but also our extended family. We have, as many of you know, my dad was a teacher here for a long time. Her brother graduated here, so we have quite a history with DC. And so kudos to everyone who participated in bringing this together, because it is quite a celebratory event. So when we got the news that Linda was going to be an inductee, it was a pleasant surprise. Pleasant for many of the reasons I just stated. It's an awesome honor to be a part of DC's legacy. but a surprise because it's been 42 years. There's really no way to shape that any better than the fact that it was a start. As many of you would believe, what you accomplished in D.C., even in high school, was a start of what Christ and what the Lord was going to do with your life. And many of those things have been said, and the great things can be said because they're true. Linda, in 42 years, has continued to build upon what she learned, friendships that she still has for her whole life that were DC oriented, and just family and extended family, all involved still in the DC community and in the Christ-like environment that DC provided. But I do want to catch up with that 42 years. So what has Linda been doing with her life for 42 years? Well, for one, she married me. Thank God. And moreover, by the mercies and grace of God, she stayed with me for over 37 years. So that's a blessing, at least for me. She's helped raise our 2 children, who are now fine young Christian men in their 30s, and have blessed us with some grandchildren, Cohen and Kinley. So our family continues to be blessed by God in that area. And then she always wanted to be a school teacher. Even in high school, she knew what she wanted to be, and a school teacher she was. And following my career with the United States Air Force in 5 different states, Linda always taught. In fact, she taught physical education, go figure. But she also taught 3rd grade in Hawaii. She taught science. She was an assistant principal, and now, just this last summer, she has retired after 7 years as a principal of Airwood Elementary School in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. So again, to foot stomp the things that she learned from many of you, teachers, friends, for life, she has carried on in her life and has greatly blessed us with that life. So without any further ado,
Mr. Moyer left. I can't believe it. I was going to apologize to him because somebody said up here, you know, academics was always first. Well, that wasn't true for me, I'll tell you that, because I signed up for his chemistry class and I was going to fail it. So I dropped it because I would be ineligible. I mean, so anyway. But he left, so don't tell him I said that. You know, thank you for staying here. I know it's a long night, and I know, you know, I'm not a preacher like my friend over here. Phenomenal job tonight, by the way. Thank you. So I just want to say some thank yous, and I pretty much expressed how I felt about Coach and our teammates and everything during the volleyball thing. But there are people in your life, right, that you need to thank when you have this opportunity. Thank you, Kent, for introducing me. We joked around an awful lot about what he was going to say. But he just can't get over the fact it's been 42 years since I was in high school. But anyway, amen, brother. I do want to thank the Hall of Fame committee, Steve especially. Steve and I became best friends in texting and everything. And one thing that Steve did ask me to do Thursday night late was, hey, Linda, would you mind coming and talking to the basketball team before their game last night? And, of course, who's going to say no to that, right? But I have to tell you, sitting there with those young women was a beautiful thing. And it brought back just a ton of memories. But mostly, it was a reminder of how we do get sometimes a chance to go back and actually kind of pay it forward. And I told those ladies that they were probably sitting there in that locker room last night because of a coach that I had way back in the 70s. Because God had a plan for ladies and women athletes Cheryl came, I do believe she listened to the Lord, and she started women athletics. And so thank you for allowing me to talk to those young ladies last night, because that truly has been one of the highlights of this trip, coming back. So thank you to the committee. Thank you for any of you here that are teachers or staff members at Dayton Christian Schools. I know in education you have a hard job. And I just want you to know that if you are here tonight, I appreciate you being here and what you do for these students here at Dayton Christian. I do want to thank my parents who are in assisted living. My mother's 97 and my father is 90, and unfortunately they could not be here tonight. Somebody mentioned it, I think you did, about they sacrificed an awful lot so that my brother and I could attend Dayton Christian High School. And I wouldn't be standing here tonight if it weren't for my beautiful parents. I do have a brother, a wonderful brother. And I have to give my brother a lot of accolades, because in our neighborhood we grew up with boys. And my brother always let me play. And I do believe I learned an awful lot of skills from those boys, because if you fall down, there's not a lot of sympathy. You either get back up or you stop playing. And my brother Rick is here, and his wife Christine, and I'm so grateful for them, but for him for being a wonderful brother. And I do have a story where Steve left probably, anyway, but I have a story really quick. And it was Christmas. One Christmas, I don't know, Rick, it's probably been about 5-10 years ago, but anyway, we got through all of our exchanges of gifts and everything, and my brother walked behind the tree and pulled out one more gift, and he said, Linda, I have a gift for you. I said, okay. He goes, it's kind of special. I'm like, all right. And I opened up the box, and it was my basketball uniform from 78, 79, whatever. And let me tell you, Zach, you mentioned something about being old. This baby's 42 years old, brother. But my brother gave me this gift, and it just keeps giving, because last night I brought this so that the girls could see how far they've come. And you try to wear 100% nylon and wipe any type of sweat off of this bad boy, it is not happening. It even has a collar. I was proud to wear this thing, though, I'll tell you, but that's my brother. He dug through. He was at a homecoming event, I think back in the day, way over there at the old South School, and he had somebody dig through those uniforms and try to find my uniform. And so that describes my brother. He also is a graduate of Dayton Christian. I also have one of my very best friends here, Amy Nunner, and you talk about developing a relationship with a coach. I had the privilege of coming back for a year and actually teaching at Dayton Christian and coaching. And I had Amy as an athlete on the JV basketball team. And we have remained friends, and I think it's about 35 years, because I had to stop coaching because I had a baby. And he's 35. And so Amy is here tonight with me, and she is also a graduate of Dayton Christian High School. Friendships go deep, right? When you know the Lord and you really trust in Him, and you start to realize what it means, you develop very deep friendships, and they last for a very, very long time. And so, over the years, it's been a remarkable thing to have, again, a mentor who, I wanted to be like her, and I went into education. And it has been nothing but a beautiful thing for me in my life to be able to reach out and touch some children that I would have never been able to do without the support of people along the way. And so tonight, I know it's been a long night, and I know you've had to listen to a lot of us ramble on, but I am so grateful for all of you who've come tonight to share this incredible event with us. Thank you for taking us, Steve, for all of this. It takes us back. My high school years are some of the best years of my life. And I've had about a month or two to just reflect on what all that meant to me. And so I just want to thank everybody in the committee for this honor. And I do want to pay it back. We want to pay it back. And somebody mentioned that. I think it was Ken who mentioned that. So thank you again for the opportunity and for just, kind of putting up with us tonight during this time. But thank you again. This is honor for me, and it was a blessing to play and be a great athlete for Dayton Christian. Thank you.
Congratulations, Linda Lake Chadwick, on her induction into the 2021 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. How about some football up here? Our next inductee for the 2021 Hall of Fame class is Roger Smith, DC class of 2008 for football. Roger was a 4-year starter and 4-year letter winner as a running back for the upstart DC football team. Smith earned first-team All-Area honors as a junior and senior team captain. Smith was named first-team All-District and first-team All-State in 2006, averaging 7.6 yards per carry. He holds a DC single-game rushing record with 418 yards and is ranked in the top 30 all-time in the state of Ohio for that same performance. For his career, he rushed for 4,978 yards on 725 carries for a staggering 6.9 yards per carry and 49 touchdowns. Smith was also a contributing member for the DC's 2006 Division III state champion track team. Smith went on to play football on the collegiate level at Urbana University. Roger will be introduced to you by his high school football coach, Jamie Rice.
The first time I met Roger, he was in 8th grade. It was at the old DC campus out on 35. And I'm walking down those perilous steps down there to the practice area, and I see this huge human with tree trunks for legs, and I just assume it's a parent coming to pick their kid up. That was my first experience with Roger. I was blessed enough to be able to coach him for 5 years in football and 1 year in basketball. His freshman year in football, his mom comes to me when he made varsity and said, "I don't know if my baby's ready. I'm afraid he's going to get hurt." And I tried to reassure her, we're going to play him on the outside. He's not going to be in there with all the big, ugly guys. And meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, your baby is going to hurt our seniors in practice, and I don't know if we're going to have a team. But something that's always stuck out to me about Roger is his character and how people are drawn to him, his humble leadership, his winning attitude. He's always there. He's like every coach's cliche known to man. He's, the gym rat, the overachiever, plays like he's a coach's kid. But he was always there for his teammates first. And one example was his junior year, I think it was. There was a guy that played for Piqua, Brandon Sane. Maybe some of you guys remember him. He played for Ohio State as well. But it seemed like every Friday night or Saturday morning we would check the papers, and it was either Roger or Brandon Sane that was leading the area in rushing or scoring. So as coaches, we wanted to do our part as much as we could to get Roger the ball for the yardage and the scores. And I remember one game late in the season, I sent in this play to the quarterback. The quarterback, breaks the huddle or whatever, and right away I noticed it's not the play that I called. So we run the play. We did get a touchdown, but I grabbed the quarterback as he's coming off. As coaches, we want to know why our play wasn't run or whatever. And so Jake was our quarterback. I said, "Jake, what happened? What was the play I called?" He's like, Roger changed it. So one thing, nobody in the huddle questions Roger when he changes the play. It doesn't happen very much. So I grabbed Roger and I'm like, "Hey, what did you change the play for?" That was the play we've been running all night. It's been working great. We were going to score. You were going to score. And he said, "Well, Ricky hasn't scored yet, so I changed the play." So that just kind of sums up who Roger is. Anyways, it's my pleasure to introduce Roger Smith.
Appreciate it, Coach Rice. First, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for everyone that's here tonight. Thank you to the committee. Appreciate it. Thanks for whoever nominated me. I'm guessing I know what it is though, but thanks them for doing that as well. I'm just so I guess proud of being able to have my career athletic accomplishments acknowledged. I'm only 13 years away from high school, so not that long. I'd like to thank my mother for enrolling us into Dayton Christian. For as long as I can remember, she's never missed a game from pee-wee, football, basketball, t-ball, played every sport. She was there. Also, my twin sister, she's here tonight as well. I'd like to thank you as well for always being in my corner. My wife, thank you for being here. You did not see me as I was clearly the man. Appreciate it. But, you have seen me now. So, sorry for that. Thank you for my 3 kids, Maya, Darius, and Mila. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all as well. Coach Rice, like you said, I met him when I was in 8th grade. He coached me from football, basketball, life, everything in between. Appreciate you, and your family. He has a son, Skylar. I remember when he was my daughter's age, 7, right? Now he's 23, which is crazy. Taller than me, unfortunately. So we've been around each other for a long time. Let's see, what else I got on here? I also like to thank Dayton Christian as a school. I have a lot of fond memories of friends, teachers, fans. I remember playing football, and I remember people yelling at the top of their lungs for me. I can always hear my mother yelling the loudest though, through the crowds of people. I do have one story, so let me say this, give you a story of what type of man Coach Rice has instilled in me, I guess you would say. So like you said, I played football, I was a varsity athlete on the football team from freshman through senior, okay? So that's a total of your guaranteed 40 games as a high school football player. And I'm pretty sure I was the only one that I known at the time that played varsity 4 years, right? So I mean, I started 40 games, or could have started 40 games, which not too many people can say that they did that, right? Well, Coach Rice made us turn in like teacher slips before games, right? Just to make sure that we were taking care of business on the field and off the field, right? In the classrooms and on the field. Well, for some strange reason, I decided not to turn this in this week. It's okay, it'll be all right. Yeah, I'm star running back. Nothing's gonna, I'll be all right. Well, turns out I was wrong. So he made me sit out the first quarter. Was it first quarter? It was first quarter. So I started 39 games, right? So at the time, I'm standing in behind him, upset naturally, because he just ruined my 40 game starting games, right? Like 40 games. He ruined that. That was his fault. It wasn't mine. I didn't do it. It was he did it. Okay? I did everything I was supposed to do at the time. Years later, looking back on it, I understand, right? He was holding me to a standard which I said that I was going to do, right? So he held me accountable for my actions, which now I have children and I hold them accountable for their actions. So that's the type of character he instilled in me. I think that's it. Like I said, thank you all for being here. Thank you for the nomination and the plaque on the wall, which is cool. Appreciate it.
Congratulations, Roger Smith, on your induction in the 2021 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Our next inductee for the 2021 Hall of Fame class is Joe Deister, DC class of 2001 for basketball. Deister was a 3-year letter winner and starter as a point guard and shooting guard for the Crusader basketball team from 1998 to 2001. He was selected to 3 Dayton Daily News All-Area teams, 3 All-Southwest District teams, and first team All-Region his senior season. In 1999, he set the school's record for points in a game with 43, and the following season he set the school's single game assist record with 13. Deister was a key player for the 1999-2000 DC District Champion and Regional Finalist team that distinguished itself by having the only undefeated regular season in school history, finishing at 24-1 and ranked number 2 in the final Ohio AP poll. Joe went on to play for 4 years at the Masters College and then played an additional 3 years of professional basketball in Germany. Joe will be introduced to you by his longtime friend and DC alum from the class of 1987, Mr. Tom Thompson.
It's my honor to introduce Joe Deister as the now Hall of Famer for Dayton Christian. But when I think of Joe, my first thoughts involve the quality of his character. I think of someone who's humble, selfless, kind, and a very devoted friend and teammate. He's also the best high school point guard I've ever seen. And on the floor, I would replace the characteristics of kindness with being a competitor. He was pretty tough and physical, but his ability to handle the ball, see the floor, and shoot was absolutely phenomenal. Steve was kind enough to take care of half my speech with all Joe's accolades. But what I do want to add was he was the playmaker for that team in 2000, 99-2000. Really, everything started with Joe, and almost everything below 10 feet ended with Joe. Things between 10 and 15 feet usually ended with his friend sitting in the back. I think, most importantly, he was a member of the National Honor Society and finished with a 3.96 GPA. To expand a little bit on his professional career in Germany, he did win 2 championships and finished one of the seasons as the MVP of the league, averaging 31 points a game, and his efforts elevated his team into an upper division. Lastly, and without question, the most successful moment of Joe's professional career was meeting his wife, Anna. Joe and his beautiful family now live in Kansas City, and we're all blessed to have them here tonight, along with his wonderful parents who surprised him. So, without further ado, Joe Deister.
First off, I should probably set the record straight. I do think that there seems to be some sort of mix-up with the committee. My less talented younger brother was inducted into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, so I don't know if there was some collective amnesia or what happened there, but no, thank you very much. This is a great honor, and I'm really happy to be here tonight amongst so many great athletes. I really do appreciate the honor, and Steve, thank you for doing so much to put this together, and everyone else who has contributed to this evening. Obviously, accolades like this don't, just happen in a vacuum. That's not just happen by themselves. I've always been blessed to play with great players, and one of which is sitting here tonight. Romaine, and I throughout my career I've been able to play with great players, and Romaine is certainly one of those. Thank you for breaking my scoring record in his very first game for Dayton Christian. Didn't wait long for that one, did you? But no, that team that we played on was, in my very biased opinion, one of the better teams that has ever played for Dayton Christian. It was a wonderful experience playing with you and having Coach Thompson as well be a part of that team. I wouldn't, I'm here for basketball, and I owe a lot of my development to several different coaches and trainers and people, but my brother Jesse actually was one that I would not be standing here without. We did everything together growing up from the time I was about 9, 10 years old, whether it was mowing lawns or our friends. He included me in everything, playing basketball. We would go to a local gym and shoot about 500 shots a day from the time I was 10 to 14 when we finally moved. And he, throughout our time together, it was just like he included me in everything he did. And we actually ended up playing our first year of professional basketball together on the same team over in Germany, which was a great experience, but most importantly, it led me to meet my beautiful wife, who I am so thankful for. And I really can't thank her enough for her support during my professional playing days, but more importantly, ever since, through a lot of moves, international moves, through 2 beautiful kids, Max and Mila, who I love dearly, and I wouldn't be here without my wonderful family. So I love you. I have to, also gotta thank my parents for not just being here tonight, but we moved from Topeka, Kansas when I was 14, the day before Dayton Christian started. So certainly wouldn't be here without a very, sacrificial move to get us enrolled. Me and my less talented younger brother, Aaron, when we started back in 97, the day before school started, we drove and found a motel off of I-70 and 75, and we fell asleep to the sweet serenade of gunshots that evening, which was scary for us, but it was a rough start, but it was an amazing start to have them be so supportive that they would pick us all up and move us out to Dayton, to be able to start the school season, basketball, all of that off right. And also I should thank Dave Jackson, my coach at the time, for taking the chance on me. I didn't come up through the Dayton Christian system, and was lucky enough to have him select me to play JV and kind of put up with some of the upset parents, starting a freshman on JV and then later on varsity for postseason play. And Dave, had a role in that as well. Also, of course, both, I mentioned Jesse, but also my less talented brother Aaron. As he got older, we had many battles on the court, but he's just been an amazing friend to me. Since the time he turned 13, he has been one of my best friends in life. Not so much before that. It's kind of annoying, really, but no, he was great and continues to just be a wonderful brother. So I'm extremely thankful for family and everything they've given me. I've had an incredible experience at Dayton Christian. It was amazing. I loved all 4 years. Didn't know a single person before starting that first day of school, but have met so many wonderful people, school teachers, too many to name. Certainly had an amazing experience here, though, and so thankful for all of the experiences on and off the court that I had during my 4 years. So I just want to thank you again, the committee, and Steve and everybody for all their hard work to put on such a professional and great event. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Congratulations, Joe Deister, on your induction in the 2021 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. Our final inductee For the Dayton Christian Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2021 is Mark Rucksager, DC class of 1991 for soccer. Rucksager was a standout 4-year letter winner and captain for the Crusader soccer team from 1987 to 1990. He held the distinction of being only the second freshman starter ever for DC soccer, and went on to score 48 goals during his 4 years. His senior season was one for the record books, as his 24 goals led him to being named Miami Valley Soccer Coaches Association's first team All-Area and Miami Valley AAA Player of the Year. He was also chosen first team All-Southwest District and first team All-State in 1990. Mark went on to play collegiate soccer at Case Western Reserve University, where he was later named as one of the top 60 performers in their program's history. The university also honors him with an award given annually in his name, titled the Mark Rucksager Love of the Game Award. Mark will be introduced to you tonight by his friend and former DC teammate, Dr. Matthew Miller.
Those are some short shorts there, Mark Rucksager. So how did Mark get here? Mark has been honing his dad joke skills since we were 6 years old. So he would probably answer that by literally saying, I took this street and I took that street. But I'm speaking a little more metaphorical here. There's 2 roads that you could take a look at here with Mark. One would be the road of accolades and accomplishments. Jonathan did a great job reviewing those. And, you know, truth be told, I have had the privilege of calling Mark my best friend since we were 6. I didn't know half of that stuff. And that's a reflection of Mark's humility and character. And I think that's why we go the second road. The road of accomplishments, of accolades. Mark would be mortified, I think. Number 2, it would be inconsistent with what Mark and I learned since we were young in Dayton Christian soccer. What we learned from Coach P, what we learned from Coach Z, and what we learned from Coach Sundberg. Now, Coach Z may have peppered it with a little more flavor, but the point is that character and the road to character is what matters in Dayton Christian soccer. So the pathway, the road to character, there's a lot of examples you accrue across life when you go to school together since you were 5 or 6, but one of them involves something that I don't even know if Madame in the back has heard this story. This one may just be between me, Mark, Mr. Rakestraw, and now 100 of our closest friends. So it's the spring, early spring, late winter, 1983, Dayton Christian South School. And 2 young boys have just completed doing their favorite thing that they do every day. And that's running out to that field at the South School and spending recess playing soccer. We're back inside, and Mark is diligently doing his math. Matt is very likely doing something else. And a message comes across the PA, and the message says, Mark Rucksager, Matt Miller, come to the office. What's this about? So Mark and I get up, we go to the office, and we're greeted outside of the office. We're not even invited in. We're greeted outside of the office by Mr. Rakestraw. And our backs are standing up against the wall. Now, mind you, I don't think I've spoken to Mr. Rakestraw one-on-one once, and that seemed like a good thing up until that point. But Mr. Rakestraw asks us, he says, Christopher is in the nurse's clinic. He's wet, he's shivering, and he's waiting for his parents to bring him clothes. And he's happy. He's happy because he said he got wet going into the creek to get the ball that was shot into the woods at the South School. Now, any of you who are South Schoolers know that the quickest way to end a game at recess is to shoot it into the woods. That is forbidden territory. Christopher went into the woods, went into the creek, and he got us the ball. And I was the one who was foolish enough to say at that moment, but we didn't ask him to. And Mr. Rakestraw doubled down, and I'll never forget this, and I bet Mark doesn't either. He got this far from our face, and he said, you two are leaders. God has given you leadership qualities, and more is expected of you. You didn't ask him to go, but you didn't stop him from going. And you kept playing when he was wet. I think that stuck with us both, because what Mr. Rakestraw was teaching us was the parable of the talents and responsibility. He was teaching us the importance of using your gifts and abilities for good, for the kingdom. Now, since that time, no one, to my knowledge, that I have had the privilege of knowing, has invested and compounded the gifts given to them by God than Mark. Hundreds, if not thousands of hours spent quietly, privately, honing his skills and putting in the time. All the while, this is an individual who would give anything for any friend. A challenge: try to find anyone in the class of 91 who could say something bad about Mark, or he said something bad about them. You're not going to find it. So, congratulations to Dayton Christian for reinforcing and elevating an example of Christ and Christ-likeness, and exactly what Dayton Christian Athletics and Dayton Christian Soccer is all about. Congratulations to Mark for never engaging minimal investment and not sitting on that which God has given you. So what's next in the journey for Mark? He's doing great things. So I say to him as he comes up, Azumzi, Azumzi, Azumzi.
To admit, it's pretty dangerous when you take an energized Ohio State professor and give him a microphone and a captive audience. Bad things can happen. But then ask him to share about the highlights of his 2 first decades of achievements and memories, and then say you have 3 minutes to give that talk. No, by the way, you're the last speaker of the evening. And now I'm in an impossible situation. But we talked things out, and I promised I'd be under 30 minutes, maybe. But first, I do want to thank Dayton Christian and the athletics committee. I have to admit that since I ever got the call from Steve Skolik, I have been walking on cloud 9. I even went out last month and joined my department's undergraduate intramural soccer team and played 3 games with them, all at 10:30 at night. So I'm asking myself, what big deal? Why am I suddenly all so excited about this onslaught of joy of soccer? Well, it could be the nostalgia and the memories. And there's a lot of great memories, as have been said so much already. In our family growing up, we had 2 core activities, going to Dayton Christian and playing soccer. And my 3 siblings and I are DC lifers, and we have so many great memories throughout the year. And I had amazing teachers, Mr. Miner and so many others, every year. We just can't say enough about our teachers. And our friends. I think of playing in the backyard with my siblings, Steve, Susie, Ann's here tonight, and just the impact they had on me. I think of in 8th grade, my first year of DC soccer, colliding with the goalie from another team and breaking his neck. He made a full recovery, but that was a memory. And then, of course, high school. I could talk for hours and weeks about those 4 years, and they were probably the greatest influence on my direction and achievements in life. But maybe this joy inside for being here tonight could be from a thankful heart. And as we well know, great memories come from being around great people. And I've had the greatest. My mom and dad are both here tonight, and they were my biggest fans. They watched games in blistering heat and freezing cold, but never missed one game. And I thank you both for your support. My classmates, Matt, who spoke, and several others back there who joined us, so thankful for classmates and teammates. Of course, Matt. I'm really glad that Matt, a little side note here, I'm really glad that I asked Matt to give introduction because it allowed us to get a picture with him holding half the award with me. And I'm certain that Matt deserves at least half the honor of this tonight. So thank you, Matt, for that. And he and many others of my soccer teammates were so supportive for me on and off the field. In fact, this year is my class of 91, 30-year reunion. Woo, go 91. And so thankful we've been able to meet a couple times this year, and so thankful to stay in touch with my classmates, and they've been so supportive. And of course, I mentioned my teachers. They're just so special at this school, and you're never going to find a better group of teachers that really pour themselves into the students. They challenge you in the classroom, pray for you, and then run you to death on the soccer field. Sometimes all in one day. So thank you, Coach Sundberg, for that. And of course, my family is here. Newton, Simran, and Taj. I love you all. Now you may finally understand why I still come home from soccer games, sweating, limping, hunched over, and still smiling. But I think that actually this joy is something else. I was thinking back to all the games played over the years of DC. Oakwood, Tip City, Minersburg. Big games, fun games. And I was thinking about the fans and cheerleaders who cheered so enthusiastically from the sideline there. But I have to admit that you don't really hear cheers when you're playing on the field. Right? They're there, but you don't hear anything from the field while you're playing. But there was one cheer that I could hear. I would hear it several times. I distinctly can remember it now. I won't do the moves. I'll let Cheryl do it. But here are the words. Go, Sailors, go. Clap, clap, clap. Do your best. Remember who you're playing for. It is J-E-S-U-S. I think that's it. That's my source of joy. At home and at DC, I've been taught to do all for the glory of God, as all the inductees do. And so this honor tonight reflects my joy and my memories and blessings of playing soccer and trying to do all for the glory of God on and off the soccer field. So thank you for this amazing honor. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mark Rupsager, on your introduction to the 2021 class of the DC Athletic Hall of Fame. And once again, we would like to have all of our 2021 class come up to the front, bring your awards with you. We're going to have another picture. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you your 2021 class of the Dayton Christian Athletic Hall of Fame. Now the committee has asked Gabe Pettel, who's the Dayton Christian High School and Junior High principal, to come pray for us and kind of put a lid on the event here.
Thank you. As the current principal, it is an honor to see all of these wonderful individuals be inducted and to remind us of the great history that God has brought to Dayton Christian School through the hard work and dedication of all of you, and as was just mentioned, the teachers, administrators, and staff. Let's give a great round of applause to Steve Skolik and also to our DC boosters for their hard work putting this together tonight. And I want to say thank you to all of you. Let's give a round of applause to everybody that's here together, celebrating Dayton Christian and all that God has done. Let me pray for us, and we'll conclude this wonderful evening. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings that you've given us. Through the words that we heard tonight, the stories that were told, stories of the heart of Jesus Christ, the foundation that you've given to this school, through the vision of Bud Schindler and through the vision of many others that have come forward to do the work that you've called them to. God, I pray that you will bless each and every one that was inducted this evening with continued faith in you, that they will indeed go out into the world to share the love of Jesus Christ that has been built into them. And for all of us here who heard tonight their stories, God, that you will encourage us greatly to continue to do the work that you call each of us to as well. Thank you for this place where we can worship you, to play sports, and to honor everything that you've built into us. God, we thank you for this Warrior Center. We thank you for this school. And we thank you for the legacy that you've given us to carry into eternity. To be warriors, to be crusaders, in your honor and for your glory alone. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you again for attending our 2020 and 2021 Athletic Hall of Fame dinner and ceremony. It's been an absolute honor being here. Thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for celebrating all of these athletes. We ask that you make your way to the lobby as we're going to unveil the Wall of Fame. And also you can have photo opportunities out there. Stay as late as you want. As you drive home, please be safe. God bless. Merry Christmas.